Alright, back for a part two, it would appear. I don't know if there'll be anything new stated or anything useful or anything. I suppose I will seek in the video some understanding of the issue, whatever it might be, this important thing that needs debating. Basically, whether or not we as human beings have enough information to draw certain conclusions about the nature of our existence seems to be somehow part of the argument, and that people don't need to really understand their existence to make a judgment about whether or not their existence should continue, or whether the existence of things like them should continue, or whether existence of things, period, has any function, any potential function at all. Anything but to mimic, at best, purpose. Just as evolution is attempting to mimic value, a concept. See, value is a concept, and it's mimicking it. And unfortunately, the mimic is more real than anything ever created. But the mimic of purpose, evolution sucks at that. It's not mimicking purpose well at all. So there's nothing in the nature of existence that functions, does anything it needs doing. All right. That's a simple enough conclusion, simple enough argument. This guy says, no, you have to argue it his way, or else I'll insult you.
Or they don't have enough time to listen and everything. But even in those cases, it's still a bad idea, because you gotta have people being, challenged. And if you don't, then...
Yeah, and I've done that for years on YouTube. So this is sort of the circumstance, right? So this might be just some generational thing or something. But yeah, I've argued with a ton of people in my history over, some of them, arguments that lasted years. And I guess I would argue that I've sort of vanquished the enemy because they're gone. There is no enemy anymore. No one's making any videos responding to anything I have to say. At least not Christians or life lovers. And instead you show up. Some crazy person who essentially is saying things I've already said long before you, and pretending I didn't know how to say them, even though you're saying what I'm saying. You're using the words I used, and using the metaphors I used. You're using words like ephilism. You know how much it doesn't make sense, if you think I'm such a detriment to the cause, to use the word I invented? What sense does that make? Use some other word. You're an exterminationist or some other thing. Why don't you just use some other terminology? Why would you stupidly use the terminology somebody you think is fundamentally wrong? Why would you use his word when he clearly invented for a purpose? And the purpose was to distinguish himself from people who were trivial in their understanding of the subject, trivial in their antinatalism. They were antinatalists for the wrong reason. Like, for example, derived energy. Somebody who I had great sympathy for in terms of being killed, nastily, but who I had no sympathy for in terms of philosophy. We fundamentally and catastrophically disagreed because he was a frickin' crazy nihilist. And you're just saying, what are you, insane? If you're a nihilist, how can you possibly be against anything? So he was against it because it didn't make sense. He wasn't against it because he was concerned about harm. Because he didn't think it really existed. It was anything that mattered. Do you understand? I mean, he's clearly, that's why he wasn't a vegan, and he wasn't a defender of for the welfare of animals. He didn't care about anything but getting rid of humans. And I'm arguing clearly that 99.9% of the misery and suffering caused by life existing on the surface of Earth isn't being experienced by humans. So obviously our priorities are completely different, as my priorities to yours appear to be completely different.
You're not going to have conversations, and if you can't challenge them for one reason or another, like Gary wouldn't have been able to challenge vegan gains in a debate, or...
more nonsense. So yes, another statement by you. You back up with nothing. So again, there aren't any. I can't provide a ton of examples, I suppose, because I didn't debate vegan gains, but I debated other vegetarians, and I did so. I would argue quite successfully in terms of pointing out how their philosophy is insipidly stupid. While they're petting their cat, talking about how animals don't matter, kind of thing.
The perspective philosophy guy, he would have just gotten enraged in the first couple minutes. He would have been able to get to the points where.
So he can't prove that with any evidence, right? Where I've had a discussion with somebody of somebody who's been qualified by some experience on the internet, where this takes place. Now you can find in live rooms where some asshole comes in and I'm just like, oh come on, you're not going to be this stupid, right in front of me. You're not going to be this stupid. But he can't point to any of the conversations I've had, one-on-one conversations, where he can pull this crap, this lie. I mean, it's just a fucking lie.
We're talking about something that matters. So, because unless he goes in like agree with somebody that thinks that, I don't know, you can ask for consent from people that aren't even born.
So again, he doesn't understand that the word consent, doesn't understand this as a concept that you have to have. It's like a contract kind of thing. You have to have a contract. It doesn't matter whether somebody can or cannot sign it. The point is you have to have the signed contract, okay? Or else you have to have some other authority. To have to commit the common trespass, you have to have the consent of the individuals, in the sense of, it's already overtly stated, in that yes, you have my consent for the minor trespasses that we all accept from each other. You bumped into me on the sidewalk. Yeah, you have a right to do that. You have a right to have some accidents. But for anything more serious than that, you have to have more serious in terms of you have to have some sort of authority. So you have to be able to say, I know what's best for you. That's what every person who nadles is doing. They're saying, I know what's best for you. All right? And that's arrogant. And so for that, they have to be sure they know for a good reason. Like they have some kind of real better knowledge than all the rest of us. That they have some skill that's so much more powerful than the rest of us to control disaster and prevent it. That's the obligation. So yeah, that only took, 37 seconds to articulate?
Well, they ultimately have to be not thinking about the argumentation at all. So they're not very. That's the only way that he can really spur the argument with people. And I was never persuaded by those arguments that Gary made.
You never heard them, frankly. Quite obviously, you can't paraphrase them correctly. You seem to think the consent argument's the only argument I made. When again, I can just go through the titles of my videos, all the robot videos. The ones about memes, brain functions. So there's all kinds of videos talking about all kinds of ways of understanding that we're not competent to manage living organisms.
Never. What I was persuaded by was the arguments from Benatar's book, as I highlighted in my first video uploaded in December 2016 about antinatalism.
Right, and I was already long convinced before I read Benatar's book, and as I sort of pointed out, it's kind of a dry read. I mean, it's not insanely compelling in any way. So if that's your standard, like Benatar's making the common man convincing argument, I think you're going to fail, because I think Benatar's argument is way too layered in some sort of word game, and the asymmetry sort of has that written all over it. Where I had argued for something that's a little more obvious, like zero sum, and using the metaphor that you're never given a real carrot. There's not even a carrot on a stick. The only thing you're given is, every now and then the slave master stops whipping you. And that's your great moment. That's your great victory, is not for a moment being whipped. So long before Benatar, I was talking about the fact that goods are made out of bads, And Benatar could have made that simple argument, but he didn't.
It's in the Antonillas and playlist. It's probably like one of the first videos I ever uploaded where I advertised this book. So I was persuaded by that to start talking about it, and also to by the argumentation at hand. I wasn't persuaded by Gary. So, and it was for.
Fine, right? I mean, it's okay. You can be persuaded by all kinds of things. That's you. And I'd argue that your understanding is rather trivial, frankly. And you know, in a little bit, I almost argue in a way crass, right? You're making these perpetual long videos saying absolutely nothing new, and you put commercials on them. I'm a fighter for stopping suffering. Buy my cheese. Yeah. Well, it's not my cheese. It's somebody else's cheese, but you know, it has my name on it. You know, they put my name on it. It's like, you know, my cheese. Get it? You pay twice as much for it because it has my name on it. Yeah. Fuck you.
This reason, it was for that reason that I just promoted in the last video. That's why I think asking of other people is the most important thing to do when you're asking about these arguments. And ultimately, it's ironic, isn't it? Because that's asking for their consent. Whereas Gary...
Asking of somebody is asking for their consent. So if I ask somebody to go to the store and, you know, buy me some cheese, Gary cheese, you know, that's the same thing as asking for their consent. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we're just we're this really is like some kind of alien encounter, right? I mean, we really don't have any common ground.
He isn't even asking for their consent. He's just making statements at them. And like
yes, making statements. I'm defending with a logical argument and a contextual logical argument. I'm basically saying the only facts you really need to know are the facts developed through the science of understanding evolution and what it is as a process. And once you understand it, you almost have all the facts you need. And yeah, you need a few more about the idea that there's no free, okay, and there's certainly no such thing as a free will, and you know, lots of other things that are just logically stupid. And so without any kind of notion that we have some kind of divine connection with the universe and know right and wrong without even having to logically understand it. And again, we get it wrong so many times, right? In the sense that, you know, you go to jail longer if you successfully murder somebody. If you unsuccessfully, if you're not even a very competent murderer, you go to jail for less time. you get rewarded for failing in two ways. First, failing to complete your obligation to the other beings you're supposed to have a civilization with, and then you fail to even be a failure, you know, with any kind of competence, and we reward that, half the penalty, or even more than half the penalty for an incidental failure. Right? For being lucky or unlucky. So obviously we're doing things that are just batshit stupid, and I point that out. Oh, what a bad idea.
If they disagree with the statements, then he equivocates.
So more nonsense, more unproven crap. Just absolute unproven crap.
And, you know, distorts and contorts the truth.
So again, more unproven crap. What? Quote the distorted and unproven truth.
Match whatever it is that he is saying. Like if they ask a question about why he put the word ethical in his statement, which you can always do every time somebody uses the word ethical, he has to then talk about objective versus subjective, and they can just press that.
I talk about the nature of what I think value is, and I always go back to the fact that it's based on sensations. If you're not affecting something that can feel good or bad, it can't be a consequential subject. So all you're doing is talking about it in the context of what is going to be its effect. And I argue that the effect over the long term is much more, the future is more important than the present. So short-term gain for long-term, short-term pain for long-term gain is perfectly rational. So if, you know, a bucket of acid could be dumped on one of us to prevent 10,000 bucket of acids falling on 10,000 people, well, yes, you have to dump the acid on the one individual. You have to be obedient to the fact that the negative is the real source of the value, and the prevention of it is just economics. It's just figuring out profit versus loss, deficit versus asset.
On you until you get to the start of the universe and you don't have any real solid evidence for the cause and effect that led to the start of the universe.
And why do I have to? Again, I never argue the universe, the start of the universe. It never happened in any of my videos, asshole. My argument is the part we know about is dumb as a stick, and that's the only part you need to know about. And the rest of it's dumber than a dumb stick. Yeah, that it isn't more complex going down. It's simpler, and simpler is no brain, no reasoning skills. Therefore, it can't possibly do anything complex in a graceful way. Impossible.
Or to the start of any of those things for that matter, like any of the stuff that wraps that up, you know? So, yeah.
So this is just a fantasy by a psychotic, right? I mean, I have made no videos about the origin of the universe. I find it insipidly useless subject.
He's in a frame of mind that's just not good for talking with people about this. So, yeah, would anybody else like to...
And you're a lying basket case. It's my accusation. You're clearly a fucking nut.
challenge anything? I mean, like I said, I know when I upload this, there's going to be a ton of dislikes from you guys. But keep in mind, like, you're not challenging anything that I'm saying. Why aren't you doing that? You know, like, what you should ask of yourself.
What are they supposed to challenge? You're making assertions for which there's no evidence, and they're supposed to have the evidence to say you're wrong because I have the evidence? No, they can't say anything because there's nothing to be said. You're not saying anything. You're not proving anything. You're not demonstrating anything. You're just lying.
But what is so wrong with your mind? I mean, that's what religious people do, right? They don't come on the internet to challenge people's ideas.
Yeah, they used to. Yeah, but now they know they're going to lose, so they don't do it too much. It's true. All the preachers have found no profit in the interaction. They never come off the winner. They always come off the loser.
To challenge others' ideas or to work around things. So you're right in the same ballpark as like people talking about the Kalam cosmological argument and claiming that cause and effect, therefore
these things were argued, like a decade ago, and everybody's got real tired of that kind of silly jargony bullshit, because obviously if there was a God, he can put bones in the ground to pretend there was evolution. God could do that, because he just say it's one of the tests. One of the tests of being a meritorious heaven liver is that you have to see the bones in the ground and know God's just testing you. It's just a trick. He's just trying to see how easily fooled you are. They can come up with any reasoning to, argue that, well, God did it this way because this is exactly works. It seduces all the hell goers. It seduces them right into hell. That's the whole plan. That's God's whole plan, is for you to fail the test and not be meritorious enough to go to the magical fun place where you're staring at empty space with your mind has been sucked out and your memories are gone, and you just sit there and go, oh yeah, I'm a soul who has no personality. Cool.
For God, cause Gary would say Gary's brain, therefore self-evident, right? But no, I mean, did cause and effect make your brain? And then that's a huge contradiction if the answer is yes.
So this is more horseshit, right? I mean, I've never made any assertion that I have a magical brain. I never asserted there's any kind of thing called a free will. I've argued there's better will. Okay, there's intelligent will versus stupid will. And then there's knowledgeable will versus, incomplete will, or whatever you want to call the lessers like you, the ones who aren't sure the fables are fables. The agnostic atheist, Yes, and I put you on a step lower because you haven't even figured out logically there's only one truth, and you really do have to choose sides.
Already. Like, it would happen so fast that and he would get so enraged so quickly from being asked these questions, and he never...
So just, again, more just lies, just preposterous lies. 99.9% of my videos are exactly like this one. 99.9%. of the video content is in this form. It might be a little more pleading, where I'm, pleading with people to, how can you look at this? How can you sit there and accept torture for such trivial pleasures? I mean, it's disgusting. But nothing more than that. What are you cutting the nuts off of cats for and throwing them back into the wild to die in some horrible way? How is that showing you that you love them? That's not love. That's Mengele-esque insane.
Time to just think about what was happening, because these other people were ultimately confused as well. You can't have thoughts about information that you don't have. And I was just sitting there watching from a distance, for years, and I was watching him get into these people. Like,
there's the truth isn't given to you in some complete package is my whole argument, right? I mean, previous to me, I love my videos because I'm completing the package. I'm making the story, the pieces of the story you get make sense by putting them all together. So every little piece of life gives you a little piece of the story. You see a little piece in a movie, and you see a little piece in Winnie the Pooh or the Flintstones or something. Then there's some little piece of morality or decency in there, and a little piece of decency over here, and a little bit of a right answer there, and a little bit of right answer there, and it's all there, is my argument. The recipe is all the ingredients are laid right in front of us, and there's a lot of bullshit, okay, like God and hope and all the other frivolous crapola, and all the game is just getting the garbage out of the mixing bowl. Take the garbage out and it mixes real easy into a perfect little oh, I get it cupcake, and you're done. Okay, that's the argument I'm making. And I'm just saying I did that early and better. That's just the truth. Most people don't get it until they're much older. I got it really fast and really young. So I've had 60 years of mulling it over.
In every video. And playing like 5 seconds of their videos. I would go and watch their videos and his video a lot. And I realized that, like, what his main issues were. And
so it's just more vague, ambiguous critique of something I did in some video somewhere. Just nothing. This is the most inane critique or ridicule I have ever seen on the internet. I mean, this is so bad. I mean, you might as well just Photoshop me, okay, why don't you do what you did in the other video? You just play your squeaky thing and say, there, I debunked you by an antic. Can I do some antics that, prove you're wrong? This isn't an argument. You're substantiating your accusations with nothing as evidence. Not a clip, not a single piece of evidence.
Yeah, so anybody have any challenges to what I'm saying? Hello? There's obviously
people don't have to challenge what you're saying. You're the one who has to prove what you're saying. And again, you haven't even provided a piece of evidence, let alone credible evidence. Like, even if you provided a single clip from a single video, which there are single clips from videos I'm not terribly proud of, but they're there. But it's a tiny fraction of the videos I have made over the last 12 years or whatever. And for you to pretend that somehow this is an example of the average video, that's your argument, right? And so go ahead and make that assertion. Go ahead and quote my videos, play your stupid game, and make your lying assertions that this is the average video. And then I'll come back and prove you wrong by playing literally hours of videos to point out how you're a lying sack of shit.
There's going to be a lot of dislikes on this, right? No challenges, no actual challenges. You're just going to dislike it just for the sake of disliking it. That's what religious people do. That's precisely what Islamic...
So he's all paranoid about the likes and dislikes, so no doubt they are spamming it right now with likes. But I don't know who's watching the videos. I mean, I don't know who if you weren't talking about me, you think I'd watch a minute of this horse shit? Oh, amazing. I mean, I don't really understand the human being who could sit through these 2-hour video of you just saying the same shit over and over and over and over again. What fucking idiot would do that?
Nuts do. They yell at you about, Allah, and they tell you that you don't know about the quantum cosmological argument and how everything has a cause and effect, and therefore God caused it, and then you just rebut it with, what caused your God?
What does this have to do with me again? Like, he's arguing as if I wasn't a passionate atheist on the internet when it was practical to be one. It's not even practical to be one anymore. Okay, there is no one to argue with. They have been debunked and made fools of so many times that there's no Christian who's not a psychotic who's willing to get into a debate.
Because they're saying, if cause and effect, therefore God, what caused your God? And the same logic can be applied to Gary's brain's self-evident. What caused and affected your brain? Immediate contradiction.
So he's just lying some more. Again, I've made explicit robot videos. Go just put the word robot in the title of my videos. It's there, okay? I've made a ton of videos explaining how we're robots, programmed robots. I am programmed by the environment that maturates me. And it's clear that all the ingredients, as I just stated, the ingredients are there. I mean, I watched Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. I didn't watch it because I found it fascinating to watch the little animals hop around, and it was so pretty. I watched it because it was just pointing out to me, God, life really does suck. This is horrible that they have to go through all this trauma and drama. So I got the message clear. I didn't misinterpret it. I didn't think it was a funny show when it was 9/11 or something. People watch shows because for completely wrong reasons. Like, I guess there's people who watch those cop shows, right, and actually enjoyed watching this horrible human drama, and it was fun to laugh at their failures. Yeah, and it horrified me. So yeah, I learned a lesson. You learn lessons. I learned the right lessons, asshole. You're just such a despicable sack of shit.
Okay, when he answers yes, that's brain self-evident and brain not self-evident. That's contradiction. P and not P. Objection and not objection. And Gary's been doing this type of stuff for like years, so I'm asking for rebuttals. I'm asking for his...
How do you even rebut whatever that nonsense was? He's claiming what? That I say I have magical insight. Is that what he's claiming? I made a magical insight video. I have magical insight from the magical source of the magic. I've only argued constantly that the truth is so simple. The facts are so glaring and so obvious. And it's only because human beings are belligerently assholish that they've missed any of it. I mean, they're just clinging to a silly fable. And the atheists are just as bad as the religious folk, and you can see it in the fact of what they've done to science. They've turned it into this wooey religion of multiverses and all kinds of magical thinking. It's putridly sickening.
Brilliant minds come forward. All the people who agree with him to just come forward and debate and talk about it. Bring it up in the chat, please. Bring up a rebuttal to what I'm saying. I would very much enjoy that. Or not really enjoy, I would dislike it less.
Again, so they're supposed to play my videos in the chat and prove you're full of shit.
Sitting here asking for the discussion. Shall we go out into, I recently made like a nice, another, well, I like that greenhouse stuff lately. If you guys want to see that, you can go out there and just build one and have a bunch of ideas and answers out there.
Hello?
Shall we do that?
Hello?
I'd like to see some test ideas.
I'm talking to the phone.
He's been working on for over 5 years.
Hello?
Supposedly he's had the same arguments for a very, very long time.
Hello?
I'd like to see some nice test ideas. And then I'd like to see what it would take to test those things. That'd be nice. Do any of you have anything along those lines? Because I am aware of his channel. I've watched a lot of those videos. So, but I'm not aware of any sort of testing that could take place that would somehow prove his ideas, right? And then we would just ask, even if he proves those things.
Yeah, even if he does prove them. It's just amazing. Most of these truths about the nature of value in our existence are truths that can only be logic-based. There's not going to be a material piece of evidence. We're not going to dig up a truth stone somewhere that's going to tell us the truth. We have to do the work of discerning it from what evidence does exist. And all I do is articulate in my videos that there's no evidence provided anywhere that any of you buttholes are worth the torture you cause. It's just the truth. That we're not worth it is the fundamental argument. Way too messy, way too sloppy. It's a bad game. I've said it so many times. There's no way to play a bad game well. Just isn't.
We would ask what created those things, what created those things, what caused those things, what caused those things, and then he would arrive eventually at some point of P and not P, objection and non-objection.
It's little pee-pee bullshit.
Or absurdity.
It is absurd that you think this pee-pee talk can mean anything to anybody.
And Gary, the thing is, you arrive at contradiction in the opening question. I mean, so if you can't even get past the opening question without being in contradiction, you know, your brain is self-evident, therefore, whatever, you know, like Gary's brain.
So he can't quote me. He's just making up some crap that I made some video somewhere saying the brain is self-evident, therefore something. I never said anything like that. So there's just no connection to a fucking real thing I've ever said. And this insane person, like I said, I mean, all I'm going to do from this is glean who my enemies are, right? I mean, anybody who sees this as some sort of a valid argument in here somewhere. This is some kind of argument. I argued for brain magic somewhere in a video. What a fucking preposterous lie. So whatever this Anita thingy is, fuck you till you're dead, bitch. Yeah. I mean, fuck these people.
Therefore, Gary's brain. And somebody asks you what caused and affected your brain, immediate P and not P, immediate.
I mean, this is such an insane lie. I have never argued for anything other than a cause and effect universe, ever. Where is this coming from? How do you distort something so amazingly bad? How could he possibly see? I mean, if arguing for cause and effect was black, I am the blackest black that has ever existed on earth. I have never argued for anything outside of the realm of cause and effect. This is just so obnoxious.
Objection and not objection. So it's just not very smart. I mean, you could think about getting farther than that maybe before you do that, but you're always going to do that eventually.
Well, being insane isn't very smart either, I would suggest to you, but obviously insane gets you out. You don't have to be smart, you know, because you're fucking insane.
Claiming that you have the truth and not doing what I do, which is I just say, it appears that this is the truth because I'm not an arrogant, psychotic asshole that condescends people and...
Right, so you think it's okay. So it's so stupid because somebody can argue to you from their God point of view that it appears to them, because God talked to them personally, they have a personal relationship. It appears overwhelming evidence to them because they personally experienced it, and they had this huge coincidence thing happen, you know, where you know, who knows what, you know, somebody had exactly the same shiny index on their ass as I had at the same time, and it was just this amazing coincidence. And so they're convinced that there's little boogeymen running around, you know, creating coincidences in the world, and it's clear to them. And so they're going to say, no, it's clear that there's these magical forces, and you know, it just doesn't make any sense that the magical forces, if they wanted us not to make babies and be pregnant, they would be pushing pregos down the stairs or something. There would be all kinds of negative consequences for being pregnant, and everybody loves pregnant women, see? So it must be something that the little people want to have happen. You know, you're not arguing from anything called reason.
Has been a dick for just decades, has never done anything about it. So, you know, maybe he can't do anything about it. I don't know. But do you guys not understand that? Or are people watching that don't understand that? Why don't you understand that? Okay, Damien is saying something. I'm just looking for people to talk in the chat, right? Damien says, minor sidetrack. I agree with antinatalism, but I've always wanted a son. Have you ever felt the same inner conflict?
Amazing.
No. I've understood for a very long time, from the time I was like a teenager, and prior to even when I thought about this stuff, like none of these people around me had really solid ideas for anything that was taking place. I asked of them, like, you know.
Look, it's not a very complex question. All you have to do is look at your own life and look how lucky you are to be not a disaster. Getting through maturation and jail and all kinds of stuff you could have so easily fallen into, and how lucky you were not to have fallen. That's reason right there to say no. I really, why would I want a kid so I can feel responsible for when he falls down and breaks his face? No, thank you.
The similar questions, but not as well worded and everything as now. And I've never got any solid answers from people about like what the fuck is going on. Like one of the questions I would ask a lot when I was a little kid was like, why am I here? And people would I would always just be listening to people, and they would answer so poorly.
Well, yeah, they'd answer with a cliche. Well, you're our little miracle. Everybody's heard that. It's laughable. Yes. So you just say, oh, the logical thing to do in that condition is to say, oh, I can't trust adults because they're insane and crazy, right? I mean, they're full of this Santa Claus and Easter rabbit shit, and even though they kind of indicate they don't believe any of it, they act as if they do, and they really don't have a better answer when pushed. They don't have a better answer. Santa Claus says so. That's about as good as they can do.
But I realize now that why asking a why question is a very bad question to ask, because it's not specific at all, and it doesn't get to the bottom of the facts, sort of. It's it appears.
Oh, right. Why doesn't get to the facts? Sure it doesn't. It gets to the fact that they have no answer. The why questions are answerable in that they're usually going to be some derivative of evolution.
To be a fact that people don't. They can have thoughts about information that they don't have, and this communication thing is pretty difficult. Look like language.
Yeah, pee and not to pee. Yeah, that's just making a terrible fucking goddamn mess. To pee or not to pee. That is the question. Now, that really shouldn't be the question. That should just be something you take care of all in your privates.
Is catastrophically fucked up, if you haven't noticed. Yeah, you can't even logically get anywhere. Like, if you just sit there and really nitpick like everybody's words, you eventually can.
Oh God, he's talking about nitpicking words, and that's all he has done. This inane, insane fucking kook. So let's jump ahead, see if there's something else. He got distracted by reading a comment.
Okay, you have no idea. You have no idea it's about animals. Nothing to do with it, and you think that it's a brand of refrigerator. Would that be? Which one would be worse, do you think? If they thought that the sticker meant brand of refrigerator for 12 years before they eventually saw it again, and they were like, oh, and then they're like, oh, I've seen that word before. Oh, it means that. Oh, interesting. Or would you rather it just not be there, right? Like, so can you imagine if it's just not there? So 0 chance for them to see where it's taking place, or 1 chance? Which one would you prefer, 0 chance or 1 chance is my question.
This is some sort of rhetorical question he's asking, as if somebody suggested people shouldn't be vegan. When all I have suggested is that vegans who are vegan for show reasons, for their own ego, aren't going to be useless, or aren't going to be useful soldiers in any kind of battle for the rights of animals. So, what do you want me to say? They're not going to be on the right side when it's time to analyze their own value, because they're vanity. They're full of ingrandized notions about their own value and totally bigoted notions about an animal's value. Why would I want them as part of my causers? The people attacking kind of thing. I mean, you really don't want soldiers in like a war against the Nazis or something. That they just hate blue uniforms. They don't care about torture and all this other stuff that happens, and they just don't like blue uniforms. So in the end, if all you have to do is change the color of your uniform, and they're happy, and they'll eat dinner with the very enemy you're trying to kill.
Which one do you think is the better argument? You can just answer with a 0 or a 1, right? You think 0 or 1?
I personally don't have any reason or incentive to argue for anything but the truth, the right reasons. So why would I argue for wrong reasons? I think right reasons can be even better than wrong reasons and be even more effective. You're saying they can't be, that people have to be lied to, and that you have to do everything based on resorting to their personal incentives or personal greed. And I'm no. So that's idiotic.
And obviously, like, this is a steel man of your position, right? I mean, they have no idea what antinatalism means, no idea what effluism means, and it's still a better argument than just not talking about it at all, because there's one chance, as opposed to zero chances. Now they're just not gonna have any fucking coherence whatsoever. There's nothing there.
And you see, he hasn't proven
Okay?
whatever this argument is,
zero
right?
chance or one chance? You could have 0 or 1. That's the question.
So this is his fake argument that somehow there's no chance to win. So, like, if some people, like I said, have critiqued Benatar's argument, I have, as being kind of sterile, and probably the wrong way to get to the fact that pain and pleasure are not opposites of each other. Pleasure is just the absence of the pain. It's the consequence. You're always digging your way out of a hole. The sun doesn't rise. You just rise yourself out of the deficit. It doesn't matter really, right? I mean, I'm just saying that I would argue one is the more accurate description of the asymmetry, and one is a convoluted pile of mush that I don't think convinces anybody. So it's not vegan or non-vegan. It's make the valid argument the right way, or make a, or make the draw the conclusion but have the wrong evidence supporting it. Yeah, either one is, as long as we get to the end. But again, I'm going to argue that there's certain just practicalities to getting to the end, and the end can't be where your own soldiers end up shooting you. So you have to have some belief that who you're fighting with are really on your side.
Which one do you think is less bad for furthering the argumentation? And I've had this principle for a very long time now, and it's worked out quite nicely. We got Matt Dillahunty to respond, we got Vegan Games to respond, we got Cosmic Skeptic to respond, we got Con Wills to respond, we got the Avi and the Aster.
Okay, so he's claiming he did all of that. I don't think so, but whatever.
We basically cemented ourselves in their minds. So, and innumerable other people as well through argumentation and other videos that I can't even recall at the moment. They're up here. So, is that bad for the cause, you think? Is it just, which ones do you think is worse? Again, just no sticker, or the sticker be in there?
If you're going to be who they argue with, yes, then I think the cause is going to fail. That's my opinion. Because I think this kind of crap argument is just that. I'm arguing from no logical imperative, because there is no such thing, is what you're arguing. You're saying, I don't really know what the truth is, but I think I'm just going to argue, I'm just going to appeal to a notion that, well, it looks like it might not be too good, the truth. But I can't say for sure. I mean, you shouldn't, I'm just saying that even the people who are, even the guy who, the video I want to play, this guy, even he knows to hit the red button. He knows that logically that's the right thing to do, and the only thing that's making it difficult for him is that, well, it's against my childhood notions of purpose and function. But he knows it. He understands the obligation is logical. Not that it's some, uncertainty. I don't think he has any uncertainty, any real uncertainty that human beings are just, singing and dancing bugs. And that's all we are. We're bugs that sing and dance. We do mathematics. We have stupid conversations, 99.999% of which are rubbish, where people are even when they're arguing, doing anything, they're never arguing about what really matters. They're arguing about bullshit. Like this video. I'm arguing with a lunatic. What's the point of that?
You could steal in this even farther. And I have in the past. But I would like you to rebut, right? Like, claim something is false. I'm having a conversation with you. Go ahead, claim it's false, and then it because. Please.
Blah, blah, blah. Who is he talking to?
Or agree, whatever you want to do. It's just I'm looking for agreement, disagreement, or because. I'm going to put the phone down for a second while I get some of this banana.
Oh, he's going to eat during the video or something. I just find despicable. Oh, and another ad.
Happy Friday! There's still zero.
No, he's still eating.
No one else. You can actually be thrown out of the park. Which is totally absurd. It's like, I suppose it makes sense, right? Kind of. Not really, though. So we'll just go to like a really high foot traffic area where there's a lot of cameras and whatnot, and we'll do that. So we'll do it all live as well, via my phone. I'm just going to bring my phone and do it via the live stream because I can't stream in 1080p, so we should be alright in those areas. Hopefully the big buildings don't do.
So he's going to go violate some stupid don't eat in the park law or something? I don't know. Whatever.
That wasn't recorded, for example. Like, that's why I want everything to be recorded in my life. Like, it's by far one of my biggest, things, because people lose arguments and then they lie about you afterwards. Like, really, really prolifically, they lie. And then if you don't have the argument...
No, you're the liar. Clear lies you've already told. You've said things that are just preposterous, that just you have absolutely no evidence for. And I, certainly knowing who I am and where I've lived and how I've lived, I know they're not true. I've never been addicted to any recreational drug ever. Just a lie. I mean, you're just a lying sack of shit. And what you've said about what my videos are is a lie. It's no fair-minded, reasonable person could make these statements you've made. They're just preposterously untrue.
The documents, of your interactions, their lies all of a sudden just become a competition between a bunch of people, and they all lost arguments to you, all agreeing that they try and find something that they hate about you together.
So I don't know why he's bringing this stuff up. Right? I mean, I'm famous for not taking videos down and not trying to hide anything and saying yes. That's why I did live rooms. I mean, just an amazing accusation to make that somehow there's some squirreled away private video collection that I have somehow engineered to be off the internet. I mean, what a fucking preposterous lie.
Oh, it's the equivalent of like I've used this phrase before, but like apes going ape together. Everyone could start going, and they all start doing that together, and they want to like hurt you, just because like you managed to figure out how to do some ape thing a little bit less bad, or yeah. He had Hero in his house, for fuck's sake. Well, yeah, it also might be like an aesthetic thing. He says he doesn't like a beard. Maybe that's like from a young age he was never allowed to shave or something, or not allowed to shave, or always forced to shave is what I should say. But
yeah, no, I just think beards on faces are really ugly. So that's all. It's not complicated. If a woman was to have a beard, it could, that'd be pretty much a boner killer. And I sort of have the same aesthetic rules, I guess, for men. I just can't see anything attractive about facial hair. Just the way it is. It doesn't look good to me at all. But a lot of things that people do don't look good to me. Tattoos look pretty ugly to me.
I don't know, maybe he just doesn't like it because of Hoffaday. Hoffaday had a beard, but
well, actually he didn't for most of his YouTube life, but whatever. Who cares? And obviously he did part of that because he had the hair problem. He's losing his hair, and I guess you just figure, well, if I don't got hair there, I'll grow it someplace else.
Yeah, I had no way. Particularly, I never really liked listening to Hoffaday, like, ever. So, different people, different things. Different strokes, different folks.
Yes, well, he was, even though he was as dumb as a stick, and since it's a nihilist, he couldn't get one of the ABCs right. I'd say his capacity to do logic was infinitely more deeper, substantial than yours.
There's no real reason to hate each other, in my opinion, other than, the idea is that it should be.
Well, I don't know. In these videos, you're saying you haven't given me any reason to hate you. I had all kinds of reasons to be entirely indifferent. That's what I was 2 weeks ago. Entirely indifferent. I had no opinion. I didn't give a care. I I just couldn't care less. Okay, so that's all there was. You brought it to me, asshole, and you brought it to me in this disgusting manner where all you just keep doing is reciting a bunch of accusations you defend with absolutely no evidence. It's disgusting behavior. It's as rude gets.
In my opinion, like loathed are the ideas that create the most suffering, which are natalism. You know, those are the things. Natalism and natalism of animals, like animals in nature, just reproducing all over the place. You know, causing themselves to have cancer.
So again, why do I have to have this argument? I'm the one who started that argument on the internet. That's why I created Ephilism, is to emphasize that very point. And here he is preaching at me. This is just so insane.
And not veganism, okay? Ephilism and not ephilism. I would argue that can be done for the person in the title. Antinatalism and not antinatalism, like self-evident and not self-evident. I can get them to do those things by answering no to the question. And I think that they get themselves to do those things by being so arrogant and to answer those questions as though they have the answers. When it's clear to anyone that is watching from a distance that it is just a completely erroneous thing, that if you're paying attention to it, at least. Okay? And that's exactly what...
So again, no argument related to anything I've said. So no quotes where I said something that's untrue. So again, what is he arguing? That I can't use the argument from evolution? I think I can. Oh, just no point. Let's see what some of these commenters... let's see, not necessarily a full beard, but like the mustache and the chin strap. Gary himself has had small beards. Yeah, well, they were hardly beards, but whatever. I just arrived here. What does SHD? It's just it just rolls right off the mouth there. Yes, just some sort of disease. Want to debate Inmendham. Yeah, right. When you get a clue, when you figure that out, you let me know, okay? Let me know what he wants to have a debate about. And I guess it's some notion that you're not allowed to think evolution is the truth, and you're not allowed to take it seriously. Something like that. Somehow you're supposed to placate other people's need to believe in God or something. I don't know. I can't glean any understanding of what his fucking goddamn problem is. What piece of shit has flown into his brain? Subjective versus objective something. Yeah, so the argument really is whether you can just argue from what it feels like or argue from mommy told me. I mean, I'm just arguing that you have to argue facts. That's all. So he's claiming there isn't enough evidence for me to assert the things I'm asserting as being facts. And I'm saying, well, where do you get that from? I'm alive and conscious. How is my interpretation of the experience invalid? It seems the only conclusion. I'm just arguing what it seems to be the only reasonable conclusion. Anyway, the nature of reality. So this is all one asshole doing this one sentence crap. Maybe I'm stupid, but I'm still confused. Yeah, well, you're stupid. You are. You're stupid when you do this thing. Oh, I'm just gonna chat up the whole fucking room, with a bunch of one sentences. I can't even collect a thought and make a thought. Instead, I have to do every sentence individually. Fuck you. Is it whether or not it matters to an AN versus natalist debate whether morality is objective or subjective? Well, again, there is no morality. There's just value, ethics. And all I'm saying is the only thing anybody, in my opinion, a reasonable person cannot come up with an explanation for how anything other than the welfare of a sentient being can have value as anything other than an emergent property, a tangential property. This can only have value because it can do harm to something, okay? Not because it can be harmed, not because it does something So penicillin has value because it can alleviate pain and suffering. Penicillin isn't itself a value or a valuable. It can't make value. The thing that makes value is the thing capable of experiencing the negative. All right. The negative is all it's made out of. The first act of the universe. See, I've made videos saying this stuff, and he's saying somehow it's not right. The first response of the first value that existed was ouch. Okay? It wasn't Thank you. It was ouch. Now I get it. Okay, not just morality, but all instances of subjectivity and objectivity. So again, these people think there's some reason for any human being to have a conversation in the context where they waste their time saying, what are we arguing from? Half-truths or whole truths? I mean, I would say there's absolutely no reason for me to argue in defense of something that I have some notion that's 50% true. I wouldn't want anybody to do anything based on notions of barely 50-50. I don't know. It could be this way, could be that way. I'm arguing plainly that the evidence is overwhelming in defending the argument, and there's just no reason to play this game like you have to pretend you're not sure about something. There's no opening for uncertainty. No rational one. Alright, well, whatever. This is just such a dismal experience.
I don't think he'll do the debate. Are there any dislikes yet? It probably should. It doesn't allow me to see the dislikes, right? So. Okay, not just morality, but all instances of subjectivity and objectivity. Yes, precisely. I don't think any of those things matter. Arguing about any of those things appears to be...
So he doesn't think arguing from facts matters, right? That's all there is. And the fact of what you feel like is irrelevant. So we're just arguing that you can't go into court and say, well, I think he's guilty because I don't like the way he looks. That's subjective crap. That can't be part of the discussion. So, yeah, you throw that out as evidence. It's not evidence. I'm saying that this is basically the court of logic, and there's rules, and part of the rules is that you don't go based on what you want to be true or what you like to be true. You have to go based on what is true, what the facts indicate. Oh, fuck.
Or should we always do it in the Gary voice? Yeah, that's what I view you guys as. So, do you find it easier to debate people on veganism or antinatalism? Well, I find veganism to be... Well, sorry, if this offends you. I hope not. But it appears veganism is... nice. I mean, it appears that it's not even, a fraction as important of a topic to discuss because of the goals of it are to prevent the suffering of the animals. And through one person...
So, and I would argue it's clearly an obvious stepping stone, is first acknowledging that animals are caught in the same thing we're caught in, a struggle to maintain their comfort. And it's not about their life and their death. It's about how they're treated in between substantially. And understanding those things gets you to the end, okay? And once you understand how, when we're guardians for these animals, that we have this obligation, well, clearly the obligation doesn't disappear because we're not the guardian. Just doesn't matter. You can't just play this game that, okay, it's important that my child have a babysitter, but it's not important if my neighbor's kid does. Bullshit. So the animals in nature are just as in need of rescue as the animals in our cages.
Not reproducing. That's, if they don't reproduce 2 people on average, after about 2,000 years, that's 1 million people. And then, so it's not really a question of what do I find more difficult? I suppose I would find vegan...
So he doesn't find it interesting. So he just cites that kind of a statistic, and then he doesn't find it interesting that in the intelligent, civilized world, reproduction has dropped dramatically in all the advanced countries, and the only way their population is maintained or is increased is through immigration. He doesn't think that's a significant fact. That's a kind of an encouraging statement about the state of mankind's intellectual health, that the intelligent people aren't breeding. And they aren't. It's a fact. We go extinct. If only the high school graduates are in control, we go extinct. Fact.
It's more difficult because I find it pointless compared to antinatalism. And if I'm not motivated, there's just no way I'll be able to do it. To answer your question just up front, rather than... so if you don't reproduce 2 people, which is the average, after about 2,000 years, that's about 1 million people. So that's 1 million people that, through the action of never being born, will be non-vegans. I'm sorry, won't ever be non-vegans. I should clarify.
So another kind of argument where, okay, I go ahead and make that kind of argument, but right, it's a little bit synthetic, right? Because the fact is the world runs on resources. So if you don't make a kid, yeah, that's right, that kid won't live in a house somewhere. All these things won't happen, but it will provide opportunity for somebody else to put somebody in that house. So somebody who would have been homeless or who would have died because of a lack of resources or wouldn't have had health care or some other kind of thing, there would have been resources available for that person to live. So that's how bad a circumstance we're in, is that, many of the people that die young for trivially stupid reasons. And that if you don't use the resources, they'll consume them there. It's like oil or something. There's so much of it, and if one guy doesn't use it, that other guy will.
They won't have the, not specifically will they be non-vegans, but they won't have the chance to holocaust animals for their flesh and secretions or create any other progeny that will holocaust animals for their flesh and secretions. And especially in the case of veganism, where 98% of people are, this is like a really solid steelman argument, right? Let's just say, hypothetically, one of your future progeny made the whole world go vegan.
I don't know. Talking about secretions probably to me isn't it's probably not part of the big win argument, is when you start talking about excretions. Yeah. Exploitation kind of says it. You really don't need to say, well, they also squeeze the slaves for their excretions. Yeah.
Well, we just grant that to them. Right? Would this be grounds to reproduce? Would this prevent more suffering than just not reproducing? My answer would be no. And it would be no because you also have to factor in...
Now, you have to change the world, okay? So all of this is not a single-player game, right? It's like the rape game. I can choose not to rape. There, have I solved the rape problem? No, I haven't. So it's not a single-player game, okay? The game is, the conversation needs to lead to, in this democratic system, a mass of voters of power, and they're able to wield the power and say, we're not going to compromise, okay? So one of you assholes running is going to have to placate us, all right? And, we're going to sell out to the highest bidder, so to speak. Whatever the most we can get from one of you two jackasses is what we're going to take, and we do that in every election. It's just like the religious kooks still own the government through the same mechanism. They just say, we're not going to vote for you unless you say what we want you to say. You have to placate us. So we have to gain enough power to start forcing the system to placate us. It's that simple, all right? And once we get our foot in the door, it's going to be really easy to push it the rest of the way open.
Would never cause cancer. They would never suffer cancer. They would never be a victim or a victimizer of poverty, of torture, of murder, of rape, of child molestation. All of these things are effectively prevented, stopped from happening or arising through the action of not being born in the first place. And it appears that you can.
This is just such a rudimentary argument. Duh. And so he's saying that somehow this is worthy of citing as some sort of part that I've missed. That I've somehow left that off the table, making this simple argument that suffering is caused by existence. When I have only said it over and over and over and over and over again. Yes, but I am supposed to say it forever, and like in every video I have to point out, well, you do know that if we don't exist, then suffering doesn't exist, right? You do know that, right? Fuck.
These things would be stopped from happening or arising. So I would find, and I would ultimately find veganism quite a bit more tedious for me when I already have that information to sit there and argue about veganism. I did that.
Well, I would argue that it's sort of an integral step is first empathy for animals, right? So vegans who are vegans for show purposes, vanity, they're not very useful because they're not getting the step one, which is step one is recognizing and having empathy for the things trapped in traps, literally in traps, gnawing their own legs off and shit. If you can't figure that part out, then you got a ways to go, right? In terms of them understanding. They don't even understand the nature of pain and how it functions on planet Earth and in what organism it functions. They think humans are doing special pain because they know mathematics. Like once you know how to add 2 + 2 and say the word mommy, in some sort of language, therefore now you have arisen as a conscious being, and that you're not a conscious being until that happens. You don't know what pain and pleasure is. You know, I mean, it's really stupid.
But once I figured out what I just said, and like, you know, one person, that's a million. But my question also, to boil it down even more finite for you, what do you think you'll do over the course of your life that'll create a million vegans? Because after 2,000 years, the same effect of those million vegans would take place. The same effect of nobody being there to holocaust animals for their flesh and secretions would take place via.
Well, I'm just saying, so what's the odds of a vegan percentage-wise once you get people to the point of being a vegan for ethical reasons, not a vegan for vanity reasons? What are the demographics regarding how many of them are comfortable with an anti-natalist conversation? And I would argue it's like 9 out of 10 would be comfortable with the conversation, where in the general population it would be the exact opposite, 1 out of 10.
Them just not, you know, being stopped from happening or arising, like not having the chance to even do it. So my question would be like, what would you do that would prevent more suffering for even your own cause? Like if you, like, even if one of them could cure the whole world and make the whole world go vegan, let's add together like veganism and cure cancer, like two most ridiculous like things you could possibly imagine, right? Like, would this prevent more suffering? Like, no, it wouldn't, because that would just be nobody ever, where you'd have the possibility for people to contradict, to perform absurdity, to cause huge problems. There's just huge volumes of other. It just takes a little bit of imagination applied to it, okay, to understand. Like, there's no way you're going to do anything. I would argue it appears there's no way anyone's going to do anything over the course of their life that's going to be more important than whether or not they reproduce, or whether or not they convince people of not reproducing, and then ultimately solve the issues and talk about these issues more often.
I don't know. Could somebody care what that was? No, I don't think somebody reasonable could. So let's jump to the end here. Let's be done with this last video, one hopes.
You know, you take the stuff out of you, people in jail for insulting, totally ridiculous. Like, for example, you'd be in overseas. Actually, they implement this in all those third world countries in the Middle East. Insulting is in their law. You cannot insult Allah. So if anyone thinks that you did something to insult Allah, you go to jail. So one of the primary ingredients of
yeah, and it's happening here in the sense that obviously there's sacred cows in this country now. Yeah, that's wrong. You know, the sacred thing should be the truth. The thing you don't think exists actually should be the thing respected. People who make wild accusations, false accusations about other people are the ones who should be in jail. You know, the ones who should be punished for poor behavior. And the ones who are clearly articulating their conclusions they've drawn personally should be fine. But if they're going to make accusations about other people's motives or other people's intent and all that kind of crap, and they don't have any evidence to back it up and any good reason to believe it, then they have no right to articulate it publicly. They have no right to assert it as an accusation. You've made a ton of accusations you've backed up with zero evidence. Absolutely no evidence proving the especially the extreme statement you're making. You're generalizing in some preposterous way, and you know, pigeonholing based on, you know, tiny percentages of my video content. They're outrageous mischaracterizations of the truth.
Of this thing here is that I'm in, apparently, the Western world, is the freedom of speech. And this word that you're putting in the chat all the time, this insult word, if it's put into our law, all of a sudden, this freedom of speech thing gets crossed off the list.
Again, it's not your insults. I mean, if you were calling me an asshole and just said, well, Gary's an asshole, I don't like him, who cares? You're making a direct accusations that are not true. They're patently false. You're implying things that you haven't any evidence to back up. Things that are just preposterous. You're claimed I've plagiarized an idea. You're claiming making a direct accusations for which you have no fucking evidence and no right to make the accusation. None. You don't have a right to imply it, and you certainly don't have a right to state it as if it's a fucking fact, because it isn't. You're a lying sack of fucking stinky shit. Again, I'll make the argument. Free speech doesn't mean you can yell fire in a crowded theater. It means you can't yell fire if there's no fucking fire. You can't lie. That's the prohibition. You have free speech until you're doing reckless damage, okay, for which you have no, it was an accident excuse. It was an accident that I totally exaggerated and lied. It's an accident that I implied. No, it's not an accident. You're clearly pissed off and petty resenting something, and so you're just saying this shit as if it doesn't mean anything, like you can get away with it. You're a fucking despicable, lying sack of shit. What do you know about a constitutional principle, you fucking idiot?
Because anybody that says they're insulted, all of a sudden your freedom of speech is silenced. And in some areas of the world, you're put in jail for years for tweets and for just challenging something someone was saying, or just someone could just misinterpret, like with what you're saying right now. It's so vague. The word insult is so vague that someone could just.
Yeah, and again, and what should be the real standard? Oh, lying. But we don't punish liars, right? There's liars all the time. That asshole lied about the attack by the red hats, and they didn't do a damn thing to the fucking cunt liar. A preposterous lie, wasted millions of dollars, created all kinds of chaos. He should be in fucking goddamn jail for being a fucking goddamn liar. Not for believing Trump's an asshole, but being a fucking liar. And you're a fucking liar.
Think that you misinterpreted something wrong and find that insulting. And you could be jailed for that. That happens on a daily basis. Are
you going to prove that one? That on a daily basis, people are put in jail for not lying.
Saudi Arabia, people get they aren't even overtly, like, they're not attacking Allah or anything like that, and they just think that they are. Someone just says you didn't.
Yes, it's a religious state. We all are aware of that. Okay, that you can't say certain things in certain countries because they're run by religious kooks. They don't have a valid constitution. They don't acknowledge any obligation to their citizens in terms of providing them any liberty to think outside of their religious box. Yeah, we know about that. I've made videos about it. Yeah, it's a bad thing. What does this have to do with anything? Oh, that's right, nothing. You didn't just insult. You made direct accusations, and you think that's ethical. You made direct accusations for which you have no fucking evidence, and you have no reason to believe. There's just as much reason for you to believe they're false as there is they're true. You have no justification for the what you implied and what you directly stated.
Spoke separately of what it says in the Quran, and then now they're in jail for 10 years for Twitter posts about their interpretation of the Quran because someone was insulted. So this word insult, I mean, people need to take it less seriously, not more seriously.
They have to take lies seriously, and you're a liar.
Okay? And actually, if they take it seriously at all, they don't just get over it like quick. You have people on your hands that can cause Allah Akbar type stuff and jihads and holy wars and police states and emperors and queens and kings, etc.
So he's attempting to defend what he did, okay, as the same thing as saying, I don't choose to believe in God in another country. And he's saying those are the same persecutions. Somebody saying you shouldn't be lying is the same thing. No. Not the same thing at all.
And so forth. So would you guys like to live in that world? I wouldn't. I would dislike it a lot more, I should say. So yeah, okay. And so you're saying, like, insulting isn't essential to the one chance, is it? Well, I would argue it is. For everyone I just explained.
Another liar.
So you can't insult, you can't do it. Because of what I just explained.
Hello?
Especially if you're
Hello?
ideas, you're not just like...
Hi, Gary. How you doing?
Okay.
You're insulting after somebody's an asshole.
Why don't you ever talk about autopoiesis in your videos?
About what?
Autopoiesis.
And why would I do that?
About what? Because in...
Yeah, well, that was interesting. So I haven't gotten random calls where somebody just randomly decides to call Gary and give him advice. So that was kind of funny. So he's a big fan of some sort of developmental something or other theory where it just sounds like a wooiness, a wooey way of describing the simple argument that we're all just mud splatter on a wall. That it's, the universe is just made of a simple clockwork and there's just a ton of it. So through a ton of experiments, a ton of interactions, it creates some patterns, and some of the patterns are sticky, like the 100 elements, and then it gets other sticky patterns, and DNA is really, really sticky. And so, but there's nothing underneath it all. There's a simpler process. It's a very simple thing happening in the universe. 2 + 2 + 2 physics. But anyway, so we agree, essentially, but he wants me to say it their way. I mean, he wants me to use their jargon, that it's developmental something or other theory. And I sort of explained, homie, don't do that. Yeah, homie, don't say it your way. So it's so funny because it's sort of consistent with this asshole, right? He's saying I have to argue his way. I have to say it his way. Fuck you. No, I don't.
Has been an asshole for 10 years and has been wrong about something. And has been talked to about it but never sussed through it. That takes some not taking seriously at all.
What did he just say? What? He's saying somehow I didn't talk about something? I didn't beat every subject to death? Fuck you. It's just amazing nonsense. You have no evidence for that accusation. Again, liar.
Like, go to Kate. I would argue. So, yeah, if anybody would like to challenge any of the things that I've said, as always, just link the timestamp of the thing. If you rewatch the video, it's gonna go on. I'm gonna start doing some. I'm gonna try to find.
Yes, please. Somebody timestamp the lies. What were there 50 in here at least or something? So yeah, just timestamp all the lies and the fact that none of them were evidenced with anything.
Places on the left, we'll try to go out and do some conversating with people. We'll do it all live and everything on the stream. If you guys would like to join in the future, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell button so that you can actually listen in the future to those types of things. I'm not always just in battles like I have been over.
Yeah, right. You're not going to be in drama mode forever. Yeah, sure you're not. Yeah, I think that's your choice. I think that's all this is about, is to create some fake and phony interest. Good luck with that asshole. That's all I have to say. And such. So, yeah, fuck you and the people you ride on or ride with. And that's all I got to say. Let's see if there's any comments on this garbage video. It was garbage. Let's see, I've tagged you 2 essays I've written about the something well-being crap isn't anywhere near a bulletproof as you think. There's no point in talking about it to him. He's irrational. Your rational arguments will have no effect, but whatever. Perhaps do super chats. Yeah, that's what the world needs, is more super chatting. $5 if you show us your butt. So far, your objection to Inmendham is pretty nebulous. Yeah, you couldn't find it either. Yeah. Can you state the disagreement in concrete terms and show why you're right? Oh, let's see what his answer is. I've already have. Yeah, amazing. Rewatch the first 5 or 10 minutes of this video. I explain in detail a few times over. Yeah, you explain nothing. Explain what you understand about it and how it can go on from there. There's nothing to... the person will say you made a bunch of accusations you backed up with no evidence. Let's see. So this Lynn person is apparently some big fan. Good on you. Do not let anyone stop you. And somehow, how am I interfering with him at all? Oh, sorry. Yeah, completely irrational. Anyway, don't forget you're amazing and don't ever give up. Oh, this is the same person. It's their little sock account for the same nut. Ugh, amazing. Let's see. I actually find Inmendham as brilliant, but he gets pissed off all the time. See, again, it's just a lie, but whatever. Yeah, go ahead. Just more nonsense. Alright. So, useless peanut gallery, which is good. I mean, there was no real people there. Just loonies. The way it should be. Alright, so we're done with this, and so the next time I do want to just talk a little bit about the red button and this other guy's video. Almost didn't work. Yeah. Anyway, just curious. It's just bizarre for a lot of reasons. But anyway, so till the next time and such.